it's the next level.
Hey, my name is Ross Marquand, and I play Red Skull. You are listening to Panels to Pixels podcast. Check it out.
Hey panelists, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this week we're covering The Witcher episode 4 of Banquets, Bastards, and Burials. And the synopsis for this episode is, against his better judgment, Geralt accompanies Jaskier to a royal ball. Ciri wanders into an enchanted forest. Yennefer tries to protect her charges. And I found this episode really humorous. I really loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode a lot, and I was going to say it later on, but I really am enjoying that we're kind of slowing down, taking one episode a week, because now I can really ingest the episode and really watch it a couple of times and really focus on it and not have to worry about trying to pick out from another episode. But this one, there was a lot of stuff. As I watched it, there was a lot of stuff in this episode that sets up for the rest of the season, and I'll talk about that some in my 5 points. But yeah, this was a really, really great episode. We got to see all three of our characters. We got to see all three of them involved in different things, different aspects of what's going on, and so yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah, definitely. I love the humor element throughout it between Geralt and the minstrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everything that goes on within. I think this is probably one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Yeah, I would go out on a limb at this point right now and say this is definitely up there. Again, just because of the fact that we got to see all of our characters. We got to see Jaskier again. We didn't see him at all in the last episode. So it was nice to get a lot of him in this episode. And yeah, so I would go out and say this is probably one of my favorite. I'm not going to say it's the best because I can't remember now enough of the next 4 or 5. Wait, this is episode 4. Mm-hmm. There's 8 total, so 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 4 more.
4 more. But a lot goes on in between those.
Yeah.
And on top of that, this to me, it just basically gave me more,
mm-hmm.
Of everything. The action, the story, as well as the humor. And
absolutely.
That makes so much to me. I just love the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to see all aspects of the storytelling in this episode for sure.
And I guess we should get on to our top 5.
Absolutely.
Don't judge me.
All right, I'll start it off first.
Yeah, go ahead, because I think I started last week, so yeah, it's your turn.
My number 5 would be seeing Fiona, or Ciri, before and after the banquet, where she ends up and how things happen within her life at that point, and which affects other people's. The time shifts are interesting, and now I understand while watching again what's going on within the actual show and the storyline with everything. Because, like I stated before, it's almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Everything's out of order.
Yeah, you got to kind of piece it together. And this is kind of is similar to or adjacent to, maybe not exactly, my number 5, which is the fact that we get more of Yennefer's timeline specifically in this one. When she's traveling, in that carriage, she says to the princess that she's been there for 3 decades. She's been dealing with these political, and what does she say? Wiping the ass of the political or something like that.
Yeah.
People for 3 decades. And so we see that she's getting closer and closer to the present Geralt timeline. It gets confusing because really Ciri, we don't know how far ahead of Geralt Ciri is at this point. So we're kind of trying to put these together into different places. And also, it's the fact that we see at this banquet at the end of the episode, actually, we see Mousak talking about the fact that he's going to go ahead and stay in Sintra, that he's going to help raise this baby, and the baby the baby that we find out that Princess Pavetta, whatever her name is, Pavetta is pregnant with. That is the Siri that we're seeing in the other timeline. So we get this idea from Mousesack. We hear him say he's going to stay there and take care of her and kind of raise her. So again, and then at the very end of the episode, we see him get captured by Nilfgaard, because again, we're kind of catching up to what I'm going to call the present. I guess we'll call Siri's timeline the present, because that's the most future one as far as we know. Or what do you think?
It's kind of like the most consistent throughout the show.
Yeah. Like
whereas
I said,
Calanthe was very erratic.
Yeah.
And Geralt's is pretty much the same because he goes back and forth.
I think the Siri timeline is the most in the future, or is the most, what we would call close to the present. So we would call Siri. So he pledges that he's going to take care of her. And then, of course, we hear her say that Mousesack kind of raised her during that time. And then we see him grab that piece of clothing off from Calanthe's body as he's being dragged away by Nilfgaard.
Yeah, definitely.
So my number 5 is just the timeline stuff that we're still trying to figure out exactly where all these are. But I think like I said, like you and I have just agreed upon, I think the Siri timeline is the most future of
definitely.
the 3. So.
Yeah, definitely is the most recent. My number 4 would be Yennefer's multiple portaling to get away from the assassin, but to only abandon Khaleesi and leave her to the assassin to save herself. Then come back and tries to save the child, but her power, she couldn't bring that child back from the dead. And it was such a sad thing to see, but it was an amazing watch to see that scene in itself.
Yeah, I was a little confused at the point, because it looks like the Princess Khaleesi says, oh, you're a worthless sorceress or something like that.
Yeah.
And then as she portals away that last time from the princess, she's shouting at her, and she leaves the princess there with the assassin and his little pet dog. And I was kind of confused by that, because I was like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be trying to protect them?
Yep.
And then she portals back after, we get this whole scene with the princess basically offering her baby, and I think I have this later in my notes, maybe the princess offering her baby kind of as a sacrifice to the assassin, saying, oh, I know, go ahead and kill the baby, let me live, I know that I can produce a male heir.
Terrible.
Yeah, a horrible thing. And so it makes me wonder if maybe Yennefer kind of knew that was her attitude towards the baby, and that's why she portaled away. And then she portals back after the princess is killed, and she retrieves the baby. And then, unfortunately, the assassin, and I had to watch this a couple of times to figure out exactly what happened. The assassin, he threw his knife, and it actually went through Yennefer. It went from her back to her front and killed
the baby.
The baby, yeah. So he wasn't trying to kill Yennefer, but he was definitely trying to kill the baby very specifically. And it was one of those things that I kind of shook my head at, because I get that maybe Yennefer, because she does fight and she kills the assassin's dog thingy, right there, when she portals back and she takes the baby, she kind of fights a little bit with the assassin and somehow cuts the head off that little dog thingy.
Yeah, that thing from Men in Black. Is
that what it looked like to you? Yeah. And then she portals away, and then she realizes that, oh, the baby is actually dead. And so it's just, I get that. I guess she portaled back to specifically save the baby, knowing that the princess was going to basically sacrifice her. But still, it was a little, that whole sequence was a little confusing.
Yeah, it was.
To me. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was confusing. But the thing is that I think the assassin was sent out on a mission just to end everything and all bloodlines within
Oh
that
yeah.
family.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure that was his job, was to kill both.
And I think this actually sets up for later on why Yennefer actually goes on her path to seek her own, like, kind of like a
interesting.
business and
Yeah,
everything else.
You're right. I didn't think about that, but you're right, because
Yeah.
this would basically put her on the kind of the outs with with Adern, right? Because
Yeah.
even though he probably ordered the killing of his wife, he probably still has to show face of, and I didn't think about that towards the end of the season. Yeah, we'll have to pay attention to that to see what her relationship is towards the court of Adern after this.
Yeah, that's why it's a rewatch, listeners.
Exactly. So my number 4 is I love that we kind of have kind of different kind of things this week. My number 4 is the killing of and I know I'm gonna butcher it. I spelled it correctly in the notes, but the Sycamore by Geralt. And I love that Jaskier, we get this cold open, or I think it's the cold open. Jaskier is in the tavern there, and he's hearing the guy kind of tell him all the details of what happened with Geralt, and he's writing it down. He's like, oh, this is great because Geralt never gives me the details.
Yep.
And then I thought it was great that the guy says that Geralt was dead, and then Jaskier's like, oh no, he's fine. And I got that, actually I have that quote later in my notes. But then of course Geralt just kind of bursts in, and he's just covered in the guts of this creature, to the point where the people can smell it, and they're like, ooh, what is that? And he's like, Sycamore guts. And so I thought it was really cool that he didn't even bother, like, even though apparently he was in water, he must have been in water when he killed the thing, because they said it burst up out of the water or whatever, and he didn't even bother to like rinse himself off or whatever. He's literally walking in there.
He just doesn't care. He's like,
he doesn't even care. I'm all covered in these guts and stuff.
I got the job done. Where's my gold?
Yeah, where's my money? And I love how when he does walk in there and ask for his money, and they give him his money, and then Jaskier starts singing the toss a coin to your witcher, and the whole bar kind of chimes in with him and sings the chorus with him. I thought it was really cool. It shows us that Geralt's fame has kind of spread throughout this kind of land. So that was really, really cool.
Exactly. And that also gives a little levity in what you actually see at the Renaissance fairs that you go to every year. If you're like me and everybody else that go to a Renaissance fair, we do a pub crawl, and that's what we do when we have fun, make jokes, and there's a minstrel, and there's always somebody that makes
it's been a while since I've been to one, but you guys talking about it on Let's Talk Through kind of made me look for maybe next year.
Hopefully they have a pub crawl, dude, because that would be awesome.
Next year I'll try to do the Norman one like Ruthie was talking about.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, you should do that. I always go every year with my friend Tracy, and it's kind of like a birthday thing, because our Renaissance fairs only start in like the very beginning of August and end at the end of September, almost into October.
Yes, so, you might get them this year. You never know.
I'm
Depends
hoping
on what things happen.
If not, we have to do our own pub crawl in our own houses and just do something.
There you go. There you go. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 would be Fiona, or Cirilla's power at the banquet, and when saving Dunny, or Dooney, as it were, the hedgehog guy.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool, because even Queen Calinthe, she says almost the exact same thing that she says to Ciri. It's almost, and it made me wonder now, because obviously in episode whatever it was, 1 or 2, when she says to Ciri, she says, "Oh, I thought the gift had skipped you like it skipped me, but it didn't." And she doesn't say that it didn't skip her mother. She just says, "I thought that it skipped you like it skipped me." And so to hear her say that to Pavetta, right? Yeah, to Pavetta.
Siri,
Yeah,
Pavetta,
Yeah,
or
no. Pavetta
Fiona,
is the dog.
depending
Pavetta
on what you
is
want to call her.
Siri's mother. Pavetta is the princess who married Dunny, who
Yeah.
their progeny is Siri. So it's almost like she says and I started to wonder as I listened to this the second time, as I watched the show the second time, I started to wonder. I wonder if Queen Calinthe is a little jealous. That because she's like, hey, my mother had
I think
this
she
gift.
is.
My daughter has this gift. My granddaughter has this gift. How come I didn't get this?
Exactly. And that's why she's always trying to prove her way in ruling her kingdom. If you think
the more
about
and
it.
more I thought about it, the more and more I wondered if maybe it was because she, all of her suitors, as far as we know, are human.
Yeah, and they're human and they have human attributes
Yeah.
and they do their best and she just looks down upon them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of thing, but in this sense, it's more of it's like you don't have power, so I'm stuck with
Yeah.
you. No, sorry.
Yeah, so
You
it
know.
was really cool to see, and I wondered, and I've got some more about this in my notes about Pavetta and her power, because it looks like when she initially uses that power to save Dunny, killed by Queen Calinthe, it looks like it's kind of raw, and even I think Mousex says that it's untrained. But then, in the episode, she does that whole thing where they hover, they kind of fly up in the air, and the wind is raging around them. So it makes me wonder if maybe she had used it. Maybe she knew or was aware that she had it. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever get an answer to that, but it's just an interesting thing that it seemed like she had some really good control of it. The fact that she was able to push everybody back except her and Dunny, So.
Exactly. Yeah, she didn't have that power.
Yeah. So that leads me to my number 3, and my number 3 is Queen Calinthe. I really love this actress. I love I didn't write. I should have wrote down her name of who's portraying her, but I thought it was really really cool getting to see her come into the banquet, and she's in her full armor, and she's got blood on her. It's very similar. It's very similar to how Geralt walked in the beginning of the episode, that after his fight with the Silkamore, that we can see that she doesn't even care. She doesn't give an F, because she just walks in and people are like, "Where have you been?" And she's like, "Well, a few upstart townships in the south needed some reminding of who was queen." And then she kind of throws her helmet at a guy, which I thought was really, really cool. And I wondered how many times they had to do that scene, if it worked the first time, or if she had to do it several times, where she just basically throws the helmet behind her and the guy catches it and she yells for beer. I just love that the guy caught it. And I love her little interactions with Siri, where she says to Siri, if after you get married, then you can have any man you want. It doesn't matter that you're going to have to be married to this oaf over here who's drinking beer and looking like he looked like a frat boy, really, and he's cutting up with his friends. And so Calinthe just kind of tells her, you can have whoever you want after you get married. And she's like, you're my blood runs in your veins. You're the young lioness. All that kind of stuff. And I just love that moment when she's kind of talking to Geralt about, I'm glad you're here, because if any drama happens, because obviously, and as Geralt surmises later, she knew that Dunny was going to show up at some point, and she's trying to get Geralt to kill Dunny, and he won't do it. And so, yeah, I just really like this character of the Queen. I love that we're going to see her. And again, I want to give props to Laura again, because Laura pointed out to us last episode that that Queen Calinthe is kind of the touchstone to show us where things are at in the timeline. And so
Exactly. It's a human that's aging.
Yeah.
Within that time, and we actually somebody to gauge that time within it.
Exactly. And I love the character and love the portrayal of her.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, she's got a lot of gumption, and on top of that, it's like that whole bravado
exactly
about her. I just love it. Yeah. My number 2 would be it would be Cirilla's or Fiona's truth comes out when she drinks the water in front of the women in Brooklyn Forest. And that was really cool to see, because there's a lot of things showing within that scene itself.
Yeah, Broccolon Forest was really cool. I didn't put anything in my notes about it because you mentioned it, and I now were those all females? Could you tell? Okay.
Yes, it was all
it was?
females
Okay.
except for her male companion. That
right,
was her.
except for her, the Dara boy, which we're still not clear about who shot him with the arrows.
Exactly, and we don't see that until later.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see this and this whole Broccolon Forest, and I hope they come back and show us some more of this. I know that Ciri's going to exit. I know she leaves Broccolon Forest at some point, and so she doesn't drink enough of the water. So I know there's a point. I think I don't remember what episode it is where she talks about the fact that she doesn't want to forget. Her past. She doesn't want to forget what's going on because she wants to find Geralt. She wants to fulfill her destiny, So yes, I'm glad you brought up Broccolon Forest because there's a lot of stuff there that I wonder if it's setting up for the next season or if we're not going to see it again. But it was really cool when Dara drinks the water and he goes, "Oh, this stuff is great. It's making me forget blah blah blah, whatever. It healed him." And then when she drinks, she's like, "Why didn't it work?" And the head dryad is like, "Well, you've got to drink from the source." And then
exactly,
yeah,
it's more pure, and you have to do this.
I thought that was really really cool. So my number 2 is just I thought it was funny, and again, it's more of the humor that you brought up is just Geralt being recognized by so many people at the banquet when literally Jaskier takes him there going, "Hey, I'm going to dress you kind of differently because I don't want anybody to know that you're Geralt." But everybody
knows
It's one
anyway.
of those things that I kind of went back and forth. It's really really funny because Jaskier is the one who is spreading his fame, who is telling people about him, who's calling him the White Witch or whatever, the White Warrior, whatever they call him, and the Butcher of Bravedon and all that. He's the one who's spreading it, and so he shouldn't be surprised when all these people recognize him, and even Queen Calenthe recognizes him. And I love when Geralt tells the story about the elves, and they ask him, "Well, how did you get past the elves?" And he goes, "Well, honestly, the story, the song is wrong. I actually went ahead and just paid them off." And by falafel, by whatever that guy's, the head elves, that guy, Philandrel or whatever, however you say his name. I love that. I love the queen is like, man, that's great. I love a person who can basically, I don't know how I don't remember how she said. I didn't write it down. She says about, it's great that you can still revel in your defeats, even in your failings. So I thought that was really cool. Just the whole thing of Geralt, and she brings him up there to sit next to her on the table, and he tells Jaskier after he rescues him from the one guy, telling the guy that he's a eunuch, not that he couldn't have been the man with his wife because he's a eunuch, and so she calls him up to the head table, and he's setting up there. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, I didn't see his face, but I saw his pimply butt.
I saw his butt.
Yeah, that was great.
His buttocks. That will lead me to my number 1, which would be the breaking of the spell over Dunny with the wedding of Fiona/Ciri. Basically seeing Calanthe's body
about that
at the end as well. At the end, where those that are tracking Fiona or Ciri,
Ew.
That was a little disgusting at the very end.
Yeah, ooh, it's just ew. Yeah, and the guy says Broccolon Forest, and the other guy.
They just basically cut part of her skin off like a square, and the guy eats it. So they could find out and trace her, and they know exactly where.
And the other guy says
Siri or
whatever,
Fiona
we can
is,
spare
you know?
10,000 troops to go ahead and take it, and the Nilfgaard king is like, no, there's a better way to get her out of the forest. So yeah, that was a creepy scene with that whole thing. So
Yeah, they know exactly where it is. It's like, what spell gathering do they have? What monks do they have that have this capability?
yeah, we see her dead body. We see that she's definitely gone, and Sintra has been defeated. So definitely there's some trouble there. My number one is just this whole thing about the law of surprise, and I want to I'm gonna lay this out.
But
to
also,
see if
we
I
do
can, if I
see the
understand it.
demise of
So when you
Galante at
you
that
save
point.
someone's life, and basically they can't repay you because it's their life. How much are they going to give you for their life?
Yeah.
Obviously, and so you claim this law of surprise, that is basically whatever they have or whatever the next good thing is they're going to get belongs to you, whether it's, and the way the guy that ends up marrying Calenthe, he describes it, he goes, it could be a bumper crop, it could be a new pup, or even a child. And the two times we've seen that, obviously the only two times we've actually seen this law of surprise come into effect is a child, because Dunny says, I rescued your husband. He yells Calenthe. He says, I rescued your husband. I saved his life. We didn't see that story. So that may be, I don't know if that's going to be a story we're going to get in season 2, or we're just supposed to just assume it. But he says, I saved and I claimed the law of surprise. And then I found out that you were with child. And so I knew that was my payment, was this child. But I wasn't, even Dunny says, I wasn't going to claim it because that wasn't my way. That's not right. Until just whatever happenstance. And he kind of tries to, it was a little dodgy, I think, the way he explained, because basically it sounded like he basically stalked her, until he turned human, and then they just happenstance met and slept together and woke up the next morning. He was a hedgehog and she still loved him. So, which is a great little love story, but at the same time, I'm kind of like,
true.
Yeah, it sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah, it's like a reverse Beauty of the Beast.
Exactly. But what I didn't get was there at the end when when she throws up, Queen Pavetta, Princess Pavetta, she throws up, and so everybody, and that's like, oh, you must be pregnant because you're vomiting, which, okay, I guess that's the sign. Reasons.
I guess. Yeah, exactly. It's like, there are other ways to show pregnancy.
Yeah, and there's other reasons why you could be vomiting. The fact that you just went through this freaking huge spell that you,
and there was a lot of blood loss,
death, and yeah. So there could be so many different reasons why you're vomiting, but hey, reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll wave our hand at that.
Exactly.
But even The Witcher says, he says, no, I'm not going to claim it, and Mousak is like, well, if you don't claim this child, it's going to cause, whatever, the end of days. And I'm like, well, how come Dunny not choosing the child originally? How come that didn't cause end of days?
Exactly.
He waited 17 years, or let's make him not a pedophile and say he waited 18 years to come.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things that I'm just like, okay, you're being a little melodramatic, Mousak, but okay, but it is cool that we got to see that beginning where that destiny started. We're talking about the girl in the woods and the whole destiny thing. So we got some quotes here. You had a quote?
Yeah, I have one. That would be The Witcher stating, "Destiny helps people believe there is an order to this horseshit." There isn't.
That was at
the very end.
Great.
That was after she throws up and everything, and he's like, and he says something OF or whatever when it happened too.
Yeah, I love that when she throws up, because it's like as soon as she throws up, he realizes what that means. He's like, so yeah. I had a couple here. I've already talked about one that just when the guy is telling Yaskier that the Witcher is dead, he's like, he's fine. I thought that was that whole aside of, oh no, he's fine. And then of course when they're talking about the banquet, Geralt says, I will not suffer tonight sober just because you hid your sausage in the wrong royal pantry.
Like I said, the
Yeah.
humor in this episode, it just like it took me back to like your Hercules and Xena and all that, and I was like, I was just loving it.
Yeah. We've talked about some of mine. Why don't you go ahead and give yours, and then I'll just run through my notes here that I have.
Well, basically, an overview of it and this whole episode, it was pretty much just a breaking point of tradition.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of the whole story between the stories within Yennefer and Ciri. You know, they broke those sort of typical traditions that they had to. Ciri, you know, breaking away and doing her own thing, and Yennefer at that point breaking away what she was destined to do, and her leaving the call of what she was in her mind was supposed to do, which was to help these kingdoms, these people, and then going on her own thing. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to see as the season progresses. We're going to see that she becomes kind of a traveling mage or sorceress, whatever, until the very, very end when she hooks back up.
Yep.
Let's see. So some of mine we already talked about. I thought it was cool. I thought it was an interesting thing that Calanthe, that because Princess Pavetta marries Dunny, Calanthe ends up marrying the uncle or the father. I didn't get totally the relationship there of the guy that Pavetta was going to marry. Like at the very beginning of the banquet, when Geralt asks, well, who's your money on, to Mousak, Mousak says, well, this guy, but I heard that this guy has already set up a thing because his uncle has been trying to marry Calanthe and get in with the kingdom. So he's already set up that his nephew is going to marry Pavetta. And so they're at the end. And I watched it a couple times and I think it seemed like a surprise. The first time I watched it, I thought maybe she and this guy had already talked it out. But the second time I watched it, or the most recent time I watched it, she really seemed surprised when he came out of the blue. You know, when she says that Pavetta is going to marry Dunny and nobody can speak against it, and he comes out and he's like, and the ships of Skelligan as well you'll have to face because Queen Calanthe has agreed to my proposal of marriage. And she gives him this look like all of a sudden she realizes, oh, I now have to marry him because Pavetta didn't marry his nephew. So
correct.
That was pretty cool. I loved how Yennefer figured out pretty quickly that the sorcerer was an assassin. He was there because the princess had not given him her king a male heir. And before we go too far, I want to make sure I just acknowledge the fact that Henry Cavill, like as much as he grunts, or Cavill, how do you say his name?
Cavill, they say it, yeah.
You know, as much as he grunts in his dialogue, he really has some pretty lengthy things that he has to say, and he has to say them in a very specific way, and he has to say them in that you know, he's got to say them in that very gravelly kind of
baritone kind of attitude.
It's if you ever watch Supernatural, Misha Collins plays a character who's an angel, and I heard one time in one of the outtakes or one of the interviews with him, he in his regular voice he said that, you know, he initially came in and didn't think he was going to get the part, and so he auditioned in this very gravelly kind of voice, and then of course he got the part, and he had to use this gravelly voice for the next 7 seasons or 5, 6, 10 seasons, however many he he portrayed that character since that season, that show is ending.
Well,
this
he
season.
gave them what they wanted. Is pretty much
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah. And then he had to speak in this gravelly voice for the next, the next 12 years or whatever.
So I guess talking like Harrison Ford when he gets interviews, like,
yeah, exactly.
works out.
Yeah, exactly. I loved that whole fight scene. We didn't talk about it very much, but that whole fight scene when Dunny comes in and the queen orders him to be killed, and Geralt, and I tried to back it up to see, but we don't really get to see Geralt. It's almost like, I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he like jumped or something, but it almost looks like he teleports from sitting next to the queen to standing next to Dunny.
True.
And
he does.
because it's just like he appears. It's like 1 second he's at the table,
there.
the next second he's there.
Yeah.
And I really, like I said, I tried to back it up to see if I could figure out if they showed him in the air, but no, because he had to jump or something. But that whole fight scene when he blocks the whatever you call that spear looking thing with a axe head handle. He cuts it. He grabs somebody's sword, or maybe he had a sword on him, and he cuts that thing, and Dunny catches it, and then they start fighting back to back together. And then the one guy who ends up marrying Calanthe, he jumps in and starts helping the fight as well, because he's like, the law of surprise must be whatever honored, and so he jumps in, and then then the queen, she jumps in and she stops everything with her sword and says, no, everybody stop, the law of surprise has been invoked. So I thought that whole fight scene was really, really cool.
Oh, definitely it was. The cinematics within it and the choreography in it was really good.
Yeah, just amazing. And then we already talked a little bit about Princess Bethesda's her powers, that she seemed to have a little bit more control than what maybe Mousak thought. But Mousak, even he says, well, she's got a great power, but she needs to be trained, and that's why he's going to stay there. So I thought that was just some really, really cool things there.
Oh, definitely. They're all cool.
So we didn't get any feedback this episode. What are you thinking so far of this kind of slow rewatch? And now that we're here, we're up to episode 4. What are you thinking? Did your this is what I thought about this week. Did your impression of the series change at all? Did it get deeper? Or
it got deeper, and it was less confusing at this point, because I actually was able to binge watch it completely.
Right.
And remember certain instances, what was going on within specific episodes. And like I said, this one was the one that said, oh, I love this. I love what's going on, because the humor, the action, the drama that was going on with it actually sucked me in by this time when I was doing the original watch. And that's that, and I'm like, okay, now I'm interested in the characters. I love the idea of Yennefer. I love Geralt. I love Jaskier. I like what's going on with Ciri. I showed a lot of sympathy for Calanthe and everybody that's involved, and everything that goes on after this. It's a mix of everything, and that's what I really enjoy about the actual show itself.
Yeah. For me, and that's the thing. For me, it enriched really my positivity of the series in general, because this was the episode where originally several months ago, when I stopped watching, this was the episode, because I was just
really?
Like, yeah, it was episode 4, and I was just like, because that was when, for me, I had that aha moment that all of these timelines are all separate, and I've got to really pay attention to this. And I don't know what was going on months ago when I watched it, that I was just like, I don't have time.
Yeah, you didn't want to put the time in.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is like work.
I didn't want to invest. Yeah, I didn't want to invest in, as badly as that sounds, I didn't want to invest in a show that I wasn't podcasting on, And and so this time when we went back and when I binge watched all 8 episodes and then got to this episode, and then when we got to this rewatch, I got to this episode, it really made me appreciate that this kind of slow rewatch, this kind of rewatch with the idea of spoilers, it really, really helped me because I really, like I said, appreciated it more was the biggest thing I
It
could
definitely
think of.
does. And I think that's why it was a good idea that you suggested that we binge watch it first and then do a rewatch.
Now, I don't want to do that for everything.
Oh, I know that. I know that.
But
But
for this, it really
really
helpful.
worked well.
Yeah.
Unlike Ozark, where you just like got sucked into it and you had to watch it.
Ozark is so good, man.
Yeah.
If people are not watching Ozark,
I've watched like select few episodes because I sit down with my mom and she'll have it on, and I definitely do need to sit down and watch the whole thing from
I
beginning
ripped through
to
all
end.
3 seasons of that in I want to say about a week in between everything else that I was watching, and because I wasn't podcasting on it, it drew me in. And Jason Bateman is so good.
Oh yeah, it's
those
completely
kids
out
are-
of character for him.
those kids are so good. The wife is just everything about that show. I don't think there's anything, and I binge watched all 3 seasons really quickly. I don't think there's anything that
was
jumped.
bad.
Yeah, that was bad. I there really wasn't. The only thing that they didn't really, well, they addressed it, but they didn't really address it, was there's one of the characters who is, he's not one of the main characters. He's not one of Jason Bateman's kids.
Yeah.
One of the other adolescents that's in the show, like sprouted, like I want to say like 3 or 4 inches, and like went from looking like a little boy to looking like a man between season 2 and 3. I think it was season 2 and 3. So when you see him at the end of season 2, he looks like a little boy, and at season 3, like he looks like he's a full grown man. Like that's how much he sprouted, how much the actor sprouted in that, however long it was between those 2 seasons. And they don't really acknowledge it, but time has passed. So, and they acknowledge that time has passed, but it's one of those things that it took me a second. Like I literally had to go to IMDb and go, is this the same actor?
Kid?
And and look at it and go, yep, that's the same kid. He literally went from looking like a little boy to looking like a young man.
Yeah.
In that,
Unlike
in
The
between.
Walking Dead, where Carl is.
in like Carl, with The Walking Dead, where you're just like, this kid's still 10 years old.
10 years
He looks
old?
like he's 20. Yeah.
He's supposed to be 13 now, but it's really what?
Yeah, exactly. So no, Ozark. I highly recommend Ozark to anybody. And,
I plan on watching it eventually, but with everything that's going on, everything on hiatus, and we're still doing our thing.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that we're able to do all these things. And, for those of you listeners that are out there and don't know what to watch at this point, and if you've not touched on Ozark, I'm pretty sure, Steve is recommending that.
Oh, I highly recommend it. Like people had highly recommended it to me for a long time, and I had neglected to check it out until, like I said, until we went through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I needed something, as badly as I said, I needed something kind of like Better Call Saul that I could just watch, that I wasn't podcasting on, that I wasn't worrying
definitely.
about, that I wasn't trying to send voicemails in, and Ozark fit that bill perfect for me.
Yeah, you needed something full of drama, something a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need, some sort of humor. I always recommend Superstore.
Superstar's so good.
And
it's getting better.
Oh, definitely.
And I don't know if it's ending this season or not, but it looks like it might be. But
I binge watched, what was it, Parks and Rec?
After
I binged watched The Office, and I never watched The Office completely, and I did. And then I went on to Parks and Rec, and I binged watched that, and I've completed that as well. Now, next week, we are getting, or this coming week, I should say, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday that they're doing a Office reunion.
Parks and Rec. Is it Office?
Parks
and Rec is doing
yes,
it. Yeah, Parks.
yeah.
I saw a tweet this morning from Chris Pratt.
Yep.
To where it's been completed. I didn't watch the tweet from Amy Poehler.
I
but
did.
I just did you was so it looks like it's been completed and they're ready to release it. I don't know how they're going to release it, but
It's going to be interesting and it's going to be fun. And if you guys need a lot of humor in your life, do so. Watch those shows. It just keeps you feel like, oh, I'm still in the world. I'm having fun.
exactly. When
You
when
know.
you get, I will say this to anybody who's watching Parks and Rec for the first time, just now in 2020, realize that when you get to the last season, that last season was actually, oh, I've got to look it up because there's a bunch of things they predicted in that last season.
Oh,
that
yes.
actually came true.
True. Yeah.
But it was before, so I'm gonna look it up now so that I don't sound stupid. Yeah, the last season was in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and
They
so,
jumped to like 2017 at certain
yeah,
point.
2020. It jumps. That last season jumps between 2020, 2030. It's a bunch of years gaps, but there's a
Yeah.
bunch of things that they predicted that they ended up being correct on. So.
Which is pretty cool, too, because they do make a joke at the very end of the last season about Chris Pratt, because by the time that last season was being filmed, he was already in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, no, the fifth season. The fifth season when they go to London.
Yes, exactly.
Not the last season.
Oh, wasn't the last season. Yeah, it was
the fifth or
London.
sixth
Yeah,
season when
it was the London one. I'm getting confused, but
Yeah,
yeah. When my friends are like, you gotta watch out for it, listen to it. It's like, I didn't have enough beer.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing because throughout the whole, again, this is for people who don't realize, throughout the first 4 seasons of that show, when you see Chris Pratt, he doesn't look bad, but you definitely can tell
He's
shed.
flabby.
He definitely shed a few pounds, and then suddenly in that, I think it's season 5, they go to London,
Yeah,
and he's just like shredded, like he's thinned out, he's lean, and they make a joke that he makes a joke that he stopped drinking beer or something like that. It's hilarious. It's really,
that's what
really
it
great
was. Yeah,
that they recognize that.
Yeah, that's where.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Marvel
Oh, yeah.
Disney money comes in.
They
It's
literally,
like,
and
you
this
gotta
is
shut
funny
that
if
stuff.
you look at the IMDb for it. That's the only reason why they did those London episodes was because he was filming Guardians of the Galaxy in the UK,
London.
Yeah, and so and they didn't want to halt his character's production. So no, Parks and Rec. I highly recommend anybody especially if you like The Office, watch Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay. So, what do we have for comic talk tonight, Mark? We've gone so way
it's
off
fine.
track.
But you got to give some
That's
people
okay.
some levity, a little humor. Got to get them all excited.
Exactly.
Clear their minds of what's going on around this world. That's what podcasting is about. That's what about our entertainment is. So basically,
Exactly.
comic talk this week. The only thing I have is Zack Snyder did a live rewatch with people on YouTube on the Justice League movie about a couple of weeks ago, and I started watching it. I kind of fell asleep, but also I recommend it to people because when I rewatched it again, it was really interesting to see because it's not the greatest of visuals since it's in his theater room on a projection screen. And obviously, they don't reach out to people who are geeks like me that work in the industry of home theater and don't know how to record something like that. But okay, nonetheless, I would recommend it because he touches on topics. It's pretty much almost his commentary on top of the Justice League movie that was finalized. And you get to hear his viewpoints, all the shots that he has done and what they changed within the movie. And I think that's great because, we'll hopefully get the Snyder cut,
like the Donner cut from Superman.
Exactly. And I do love that Donner cut, man. It's amazing to watch that. And I recommend all you out there actually do that because there are so many different versions of Superman 2 that are out there. And Justice League is pretty much the Superman 2 of this decade, and I think of it as that because honestly, I would love to see it. They're actually looking to invest money into this. When it comes out, I do want to see it because there were so many things that were implied. If you go onto the Twitter worlds or go onto YouTube's, and you could actually look at Zack Snyder being interviewed regarding all the scenes that he already had put in place that they sort of filmed, but they had to wait on CG work, but he was gone from the project, and now they're looking to implement that, and I guess Warner Brothers is actually putting out more money to do it. So hopefully we get that, and we'll be able to see it. I would love to see it and do a watch with you guys about it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Podcast recommendations. I just have one or two, actually, I guess. TV Podcast Industries, they will be starting up their Penny Dreadful City of Angels podcast this week. I have actually already watched it because I have Showtime anytime, and I was able to watch the Penny Dreadful City of Angels premiere episode, and it is amazing. I loved it, and the actors are great. Again, it's written by John Logan. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what the TV Podcast Industries guys, Derek and his crew, have to say about it. I will be sending them voicemails each week with this Penny Dreadful podcast. So listen for me on the Penny Dreadful City of Angels podcast. TV Podcast Industries.
Awesome.
I love them. They're great.
Awesome. That is so cool. They are great people, and they have a great podcast. We highly recommend them. I would also like to recommend Inside of You by Michael Rosenbaum. And he played Lex Luthor in Smallville, in the actual Smallville series, everybody. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I really enjoy his podcasts. He talks to a variety of celebrities and a lot of celebrity friends and gets down inside of them as well as himself.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa.
Careful with that.
Yeah.
Now he gets inside them.
Yeah, he gets inside of them. No, it's nothing like that. He gets deep into the
dirty.
thoughts and
Nothing dirty. Okay.
yeah. He gets deep in the thoughts of their minds and their lives and how they feel and what's going on. And it's almost like kind of a therapeutic thing to listen to.
Very cool.
And I just listened to the Beverly D'Angelo episode, and that was amazing.
You get inside her?
I don't know, but he really got some information out of her. I can tell you that.
That was crude. I apologize, listeners.
But I highly recommend that. Michael has a good way of bringing things out of people, of talking just about themselves. And I really think in this day and age, what's going on around us, we all need to talk.
Absolutely.
And just before the podcast, Steve and I just talked about what was going on, and we had a good time about it.
I think we spent about 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Just talking
before we
things
actually
out,
started podcasting.
Yeah.
So, and
that's why I'm
listen
tired.
to that
That's
podcast.
why it's after 10. It's after 10. It's after 11 for you, but it's after 10 for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but it's my weekend.
that's good.
So, but basically, I would highly recommend it. It's good. It's good food for thought. It gives you a little bit of insight of the celebrities that we know, what happened in their lives, what Michael's thinking, how he's being therapeutic upon himself, and it's amazing. It's just people casually talking. Yeah, they're celebrities, some of them, or most of them, depending on, who you think as a celebrity. But I recommend that one.
Very nice.
The other one that I have would be, as always, House Podcastka, which is doing the Westworld podcast now that David and Jason are doing. I'm a bit behind on the show, but they're always amazing with their insights about the show itself. I still have to catch up, so that's my weekend homework, as it were.
Dude, he's got Bob Odenkirk, Michael Rooker, Nick Swartzen.
Dude,
Ron
yeah.
Swanson. Okay.
Yeah.
I just subscribed to that, and I'm really listening to those.
You won't regret it, dude.
Yeah,
You're going to have fun. So, yeah, Michael Rosenbaum, House Podcastka, do that. I love hearing David's voice on House Podcastka, and I love his thoughts on the show. He is very insightful.
Yes, they are, both of them.
So, the only YouTube recommendation I would have, well, our friends, the Grim Life Collective, Michael and Jessica, are still doing their Saturday midnight watch parties on YouTube, which would be all night at midnight with the Grim Life Collective. This Sunday, this might be up before they actually go on, but this Sunday they're doing the House on Haunted Hill watch. The original House on Haunted Hill, not the remake that was done by some other company. So something I suggested as far as the movie, but they actually they said that's a good idea, and they did it. So they're going to be doing that. I plan on to be watching and commenting just like everybody else who is a fan of theirs. So I suggest tuning in. I don't know what's going on the following week, but we'll see.
Now, are they doing the 1959 House on Haunted Hill or the 1999?
1959, the original.
The original. Okay.
Yeah, the black and
'Cause
white.
I have not seen that one. That's the Vincent Price one, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. I have it on DVD.
Very cool. Yeah.
I believe Michael will be streaming it on YouTube, and they will be doing a commentary. So you could be in the YouTube group while they do their commentation, and you could chat with them.
Nice.
As you watch the movie itself, as they are watching it.
Very
kind
cool.
of like Elvira.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's a pretty cool thing.
So to submit feedback, we didn't get any feedback this week. I know we kind of sprang the one episode a week the one episode a week podcast on you guys, but next week we will be covering episode 5 of season 1 of The Witcher, and we would love to hear your feedback. You can send that to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/panels2pixels. You can send us an email at panels2pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels2pixels1. The TO is spelled out right there in the middle. The number 1 @gmail.com. You can also call us and leave a voicemail at 845-350-2095. Again, that's 845-350-2095. Is there a time limit on those voicemails, Mark? Do you know of? Or
I always recommend getting them to us at least Thursday before the next episode.
no? I mean, is there like a 90-second or 120 seconds, or is there
no?
any kind of?
There
okay.
is no time
Okay.
limit as far as the overall time
Okay.
that you could record.
Cool.
I clocked it at Lara's being over 8 minutes.
Okay.
And I think it was close to 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I edited it down so it was pretty much inaudible, and she sounded great. So
Nice.
I will edit everything down so you sound great.
Yeah. So send us a
And-
voicemail either to the email address or to that phone number.
Yeah, if you have a way to record your voice on your computer, do so. Send it in a WAV file,
Absolutely.
whatever, to our email address, or just call the phone number, and we'll still get it, and I'll be able to download it, and I'll edit it down
Absolutely.
so you'll sound great.
We are also on YouTube at Panels to Pixels Podcast. So just search for Panels to Pixels Podcast on YouTube. You can subscribe to us there, give us a thumbs up, whatever method you decide to choose. And also, you can always hear us on just about any podcast player of choice. I'm not sure. I know we're on Spotify, we're on Google Play, we're on Apple iTunes. There's several others. Podchaser, Podmaster. I am.
If you subscribe to Podchaser, please do give us a vote and give some sort of thumbs
Absolutely.
up or recommendation. That would be awesome.
So where can listeners hear you? Can they hear you anywhere at this moment, Mark, or are you just Panels to Pixels right now?
Honestly, it's like I'm normally a co-host on The Walking Dead Talk Through with Brian Malash and Kyle McAdams. With that, we review The Walking Dead each week. Unfortunately, with the whole coronavirus, the season finale of The Walking Dead has been on hold. So
and Fear is on hold, and World Beyond is on hold. Everything is
yeah, all that's on hold. So with that, Kyle and I created the new podcast for Talk Through Media called Let's Talk Through, and we put out our first episode last week. We're not sure exactly what we're doing coming up, but we're going to have fun. If you have any recommendations, I think Kyle put something out on Facebook on the Let's Talk Through Facebook page, and you could send in a recommendation of whatever in pop culture you want us to talk about. and that would be amazing.
Very cool.
So you could hear me on talkthroughmedia.com with Let's Talk Through, the Walking Dead Talk Through, or Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through, because there are older podcasts you could listen to if you're not into that or you haven't ever listened to that. And you could hear those on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Like Steve said,
Absolutely.
We're on Spotify. The Walking Dead Talk Through, all of Talk Through Media is on Spotify as well as Stitcher and Google Play. So check those out if you have nothing better to do and if you've listened to everything that we've done.
Absolutely. And you can hear my voice, of course, right here on Panels to Pixels. And as I said earlier, I submit various voicemails to podcasts, and they play those for me. I will say one thing that I forgot to mention earlier. We have to go back. Lost Revisited podcast is back. They will be starting back up weekly. Next week, they released one today. We're recording this on Friday,
24th.
April 24th. And they released one today, and they will be back weekly again with that Lost rewatch. So check them out. Podcastica and the Next Level Online Network. And it's a joint effort between the two. Again, that's We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited podcast.
Awesome. Well, that's our show for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels. And we'll see you on the next panel. Good night.